We generally think of memory as a collection of photos in our minds. But what if the body has been keeping its own record of every story that we've ever lived? What if chronic symptoms aren't just malfunctions, but a language that your body is using to finally be heard? Welcome back to Inwardly with Sanjana. Today we're going beneath the surface to explore body memory so we can finally stop managing the pain and start the process of dissolving the weight of the past. I'm joined by Ranika D Kararia, a mind-body healing practitioner and founder of the Uro Breath protocol dedicated to nervous system recalibration. Having worked with Ranika, I know that her work focuses on the connection between emotional patterns, trauma, and chronic illness, and I have immensely benefited from our journey together. Welcome, Ranika. I know that the synopsis that I gave is a very small representation of your body of work. So I'll open it up to you to talk to us a little bit more in detail about your work and your passion.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. Thank you for having me here. And also thank you for the trust that you have always shown in my body of work. So I am an emotional integration coach and trauma-informed nervous system calibration practitioner. My work primarily focuses on how unresolved stress lives in the body. I use breath-based regulations, regressions like visualization, imaginative exposure, some bit of somatic awareness and subconscious pattern work as part of my work. In short, you can say that I help build people safety inside them and not fix them. So it's all about making people feel safe inside their own bodies and not an external input which is trying to cure them or fix them.
That's beautifully said. I think just it's a journey about finding your own way back into yourself. And I've definitely experienced that with you in several ways. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, further into this episode. But I want to start with, where you started. So every healer or, practitioner or therapist usually has like a moment of truth, right? What was your experience, whether it was through your practice or through your own life? What first opened your eyes to the fact that physical pain is often the body's way of holding on to a memory that it maybe just doesn't know how to process or express in words?
My journey started with grief, and I noticed that productivity and resilience just masked dysregulations. The symptoms that I was going through weren't random. The symptoms that were escalating were just adaptations to how my nervous system was responding to stress and grief. The moment of truth was that pushing through grief wasn't strength, it was more of stress. The burnout effects that I felt through my health was the same pattern that I observed in my clients as well. And I realized that the body holds what the nervous system cannot process, and the body is actually speaking. So, this is where I began listening to my body more rather than trying to fix my body.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I think as we go through these life challenging moments, we all come to that point of just wanting to try something different. And I feel like that's the step that you took as well. So, in these years of, understanding your own life, your body, and your journey, and also having worked with a significant number of people by this time, what do you see in terms of physical manifestation? Like, what do we mean when we say that the body physically stores trauma or trauma memory?
Okay. We have to understand one thing, that trauma is stored as a nervous system pattern. Trauma is not stored as a memory. trauma effects are shown through muscle tension, through breath restriction, hormonal imbalance, inflammation in the body, and all these things can result in pain, in panic attacks, in palpitations, basically manifestation of symptoms in the physical body. This is because we have something called neuroplasticity. The brain has something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is repeated stress strengthening certain neural pathways of the nervous system as well as the brain. Now, both these processes have the ability to change based on the experiences that they go through, the brain and the nervous system. And repeated thought, emotion, response strengthens the neural pathways. So basically, trauma rewires the body for survival. And what we are trying to do is we are using regulation techniques to rewire the body for safety rather than survival. So trauma is not stored in the body as memory, but rather as a nervous system pattern where our nervous system is constantly trying to adapt to the stress response, the survival response, the fight, fright, or the flight response that any experience is causing the body to go through.
Interesting. So, even as you're mentioning some of the things like inflammation and pain and soreness, and a lot of what we face today, I think every single human being in some form or the other is dealing with physical limitations. So, it almost seems like most of what people are dealing with is an accumulation of that stress and trauma that the body is in a loop of experiencing over and over again, right?
Yes. We often think that trauma is a story. Like you said, trauma is stored as memories. Trauma is not the story. Trauma is tension and the expectation of what is to come. It's more built upon being prepared for the worst case scenario because we went through something in the past. So it is this preparedness which keeps us in the loop of trauma. That's how the nervous system is acting. That's how it's behaving. So if I were to put this in very simple terms, our nervous system is like a biological software, and it has been programmed as such based upon the experiences that we have gone through. Now, with regulation, we try to upgrade this software. We try to have a biological update so that we can now rewire ourselves to rest and digest rather than the fight, flight, or fright response or the freeze response that the nervous system has been accustomed to. So healing is all about recalibration. The regulation has to be consistent. It's not really a cathartic process, but consistency is what we bank on when it comes to building neuroplasticity for safety rather than neuroplasticity for survival.
So I think in a way, though, we have to be very grateful to our bodies because it feels like it's doing a great job at having a defense mechanism. I think all of what it's going through or experiencing is basically stemming from wanting to survive and wanting to protect. But I think that goes too far and then it manifests differently in the body through pain and other symptoms. And letting go of this process is not easy, I'm sure, right? So it definitely doesn't seem like it's a one-time event. But healing and letting go of this pattern and basically creating new pathways, it seems more like a rhythmic process that we have to navigate over a period of time. So have you seen a specific duration that someone needs to spend or take in order to actually heal?
It's very difficult to understand how much a person is going to take in order to heal. Like you said, letting go is actually a rhythmic process. It is layered. We have to softly keep coming back to regulation. When we talk about healing, when I say is recalibration, which means, as I said, that regulation has to be consistent. We are slowly trying to build tolerance and capacity. When we talk about going into the depth of a healing, we're not talking about excavation of old memories. We're talking about depth in tolerance and depth in building your capacity for that tolerance. And this can happen in the span of 1 month or even 1 year, or sometimes even more if the individual has gone through prolonged traumatic events or episodes in life. So tolerance and capacity are, of course, dependent upon the person, their experiences, and at what level of the nervous system, at what level is the nervous system attuned to a response and reaction. So here, I like to tell my clients that if you've gone through 5 years of trauma, then at least give yourself 5 months to tolerably recover from the trauma. So sometimes we can't really heal all the episodes. Sometimes healing is never really 100%. But I like to tell them that we have to heal enough to feel free, to be able to live freely. So that is always the goal. I don't think we can ever really completely heal from a traumatic incident, because that always remains with us as a memory. But then we can always learn to live more freely and not be affected and hold our past memories in something that we can tolerate and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautifully said. Yeah, and just looking at my own personal life for a moment and the work that we did together, I remember there was a time that I was looking at my own reports and progress and almost feeling defeated because the data wasn't showing, what I thought progress should look like. And at that point, you told me something that changed my entire perspective. You said the body takes time to catch up to the mind. So, can we talk a little bit about this lag time? Because it seems like there is a lag. We realize that we want to heal, we realize that we want to make a change, but then it comes with time and investment for the body to actually feel safe enough. So, why do you think there's this lag time?
Okay. We have to understand that symptoms, whatever symptoms we're going through, these are adaptations, and our body is trying to communicate. All our symptoms are the body's way of communicating any kind of dis-ease. And when we talk about lag time and the fact that the body takes time to catch up, we have to understand that through trauma, it is very essential for us to feel safe. That's how the nervous system is reacting. It is reacting to a threat. It is trying to survive that threat, and we have to slowly and steadily build safety. Evidence of safety is experienced. It's not intellectually understood. So we may understand the trauma, we may understand how our body is carrying the trauma, we may understand all the episodes that we've gone through and the fact that we have to move on. But it isn't completely experienced until the time we are not experiencing safety, which has to be done over a period of time. The lag time will continue to prolong or shorten. So the body takes time to reorganize itself. When we create safety within the nervous system, the body will take time to reorganize itself. You must have heard of a saying that the body keeps the score, but we also have to understand the body also keeps wisdom, and we just need to give it that time and space to experience that wisdom, which happens over a period of time.
That's so nice. Yeah, just leaning into the wisdom of the body and knowing that we have everything that we need, and it's just about tapping into that potential. One thought that I had, so, generally when we talk about therapy, traditionally it's all about talk therapy, and that's how it's been for a long time. And that comes with really going into past moments. It goes sometimes into, childhood and episodes that may have happened decades ago. And then you talk about it, you relive it, you process it however it needs to be done, and then we feel that we'll eventually move on from it. But my question to you is that necessary? Like, do we have to go back into the past? Do we have to relive all of those painful emotions to be able to heal? Or is there something that we can do in the now to just move forward from here, then wanting to take a step back and then, many steps forward again?
Yes, so when we talk about the regression work or the breath works or the meditation or somatic awarenesses, these are all about working in the present moment. These are all about developing a toolkit to understand what we have gone through and understand our reactions. So, for example, we all are living in high functional mode. Modern life is all about high functional mode. And sometimes we don't realize rather, that suppressing emotion is considered to be a sign of resilience. And there is always a gap between external success and internal dysregulation. And this is the gap that we have to try to fill up. Now, only to a certain extent, it may be necessary to go back to past trauma. But the crux of the matter is, if we understand our responses to trauma from the past, we will be able to better work with the responses today. And sometimes we dig up the past to understand how we are still affected by those past traumas. So when I talk about excavation and the depth of trauma, it's not so much as about going into the details of what you've gone through, but it's more about understanding how you responded to those events, how you responded to those episodes. So, for example, some of the trauma responses can be that a lot of people carry today are tightening of the jaw, shallow breath work, feeling constricted in the chest, breathlessness, digestive discomforts, overthinking, sleeplessness, insomnia, overreaction, numbness on the other hand, fatigue, feeling unsafe. These are all some of the symptoms that a person goes through. And a lot of these symptoms have been biologically programmed. The biological software has been programmed from the past events. So once we try to understand how we behaved in the past or how we responded in the past, we will be able to better work with all these symptoms today. So these are all memory loop symptoms. The same responses over and over again, the same symptoms over and over again. And you feel like you are not reacting to the present moment, but you feel you are reliving past experiences. So that is why we need to sometimes go back to understand what we are going through. And here there is a difference between, for example, you know that I have two workshops. One is the Usiro protocol, which is nervous system recalibration breathworks, and the second is Usiro Intensive, which is a catharsis. So in Usiro Intensive, we have the ability to go deeper into the past events, whereas Usiro protocol is more of a prep work where we are given the toolkit to understand our responses and to understand how we can change our biological response to a given event. So Usiro protocol is usually step 1, Usiro intensive is usually step 2. First, we have to understand how to regulate ourselves, and after the regulation is where we have the choice of whether we want to go deeper and understand the catharsis, or whether we can move on and live freely from here onwards.
Okay, so sometimes then it's probably required more as a reference point, if you will, so we can be conscious about that and do something differently going forward. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Well, if someone is just beginning to look inwardly, what are some of the signals or signs that the body gives to say that, hey, I'm stuck in this memory loop or I'm experiencing this trauma around a certain event over and over again? How can we listen to those signs and come to understand that, okay, this is something that my body is telling me about a pattern that it's holding on to?
I just spoke about the symptoms. A lot of people carry a lot of pain, tightness in the neck, tightness in the shoulders, unexplained pain in the spine or the legs or the joints. Um, all these pains can be a result of inflammation, and there are a lot of people who are now trying to understand what inflammation is, and inflammation doesn't happen overnight. There will be some small symptoms, like I just mentioned, not being able to sleep properly, the circadian rhythm is off, overthinking, any kind of discomfort, unexplained exhaustion or fatigue, or just becoming numb, feeling disconnected from your loved ones. These are all some of the ways where we can understand our nervous system responses, and we can try to work on how we can get rid of them, how we can break the pattern that is forming because of some event. Or sometimes a lot of people, they do not understand that they subconsciously also carry trauma. So it's not just subconscious, it's also unconscious. They don't realize that a particular episode has been traumatic for them. But the reaction to these episodes do come when they, for example, if I may just quote an example of one of my clients who does not feel safe with male members of her extended family. And this was because of an unfortunate episode that she went through as a child. So, here, trying to understand her belief pattern and her reaction, she did not know why she feels uncomfortable, and this was a memory which she had completely forgotten as she was growing older. She did not remember the abuse that she had gone through as a small child. So, when we just become aware of the kind of symptoms that we're going through, or the kind of reactions and responses that we go through, even when we are not directly threatened or directly triggered, we can go deeper in trying to understand why we are reacting this way, and know that this is our nervous system which has caused us to form a software, like I said, biological software, where we are responding in a particular way.
Yeah. So I think it comes down to really being keyed into the body and listening and not ignoring signs, because it looks like the body definitely puts out signs in so many forms and fashions. It could be different for every single person. But then being aware of that and paying attention and taking the time to say, okay, why is my body doing this and what's going on? So, as we come to this stage of awareness, how can we start to build out a map of our own internal responses? Because sometimes we might feel overwhelmed by responses that we have to something that the body is, showing us, because we've been used to that pattern. So, what's the roadmap to start maybe tweaking these internal responses?
Okay. Um, the very first thing is we need to stop fighting our symptoms, and we have to start listening to them. Uh, when that happens, healing shifts from war to wisdom. That's the first thing. Observing yourself, stopping, and just listening to yourself. In terms of processes, how to start even reaching a state of regulation is very small thing, like just lengthening your exhalation, becoming aware of your breath. Uh, the longer that we exhale, the more calmer we become. Self-soothing processes like hugging yourself, holding your chest or the belly, placing a hand over the chest or the belly, and becoming aware of your breath. Building safety glimmers. Safety glimmers are the opposite of triggers. Triggers are the ones that will trigger the sympathetic nervous system and put you in a flight or fight response. Glimmers do the opposite. They help you rest and digest. So building your own list of safety glimmers, which will help you feel safe. It can be covering up yourself in a blanket, calling up a loved one, going out into the open. If you suffer from claustrophobia, and if you are triggered by crowds and other things, then some people would like to go to a particular part of their room or in their house. Grounding into the present moment. These are some of the things that we have to first build upon. So a lot of people think that when we are triggered, we need to distract ourselves. So we have to understand that a survival response, the opposite of a survival response is safety. It is not distraction. So the very first thing is to make yourself feel safe. So self-soothing, building safety glimmers, lengthening your exhalation. These are all responses to activate the parasympathetic nervous system so that you can calm down and feel safe.
So it seems like there are definitely a lot of modalities that we can use to help our body, but I think we need to just be intentional about it and saying, maybe every single day, like, what am I doing today? If I come to a point of stress or a reactive moment, like maybe, like you said, sometimes it's as simple as taking a pause, letting that breath out, and giving yourself those few extra seconds to just recalibrate in a way. So are there any other, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Are there any other modalities? I know that, yes, you talked about your workshops, and it seems like those are a combination of different modalities. Have you dabbled or experimented with any other modalities before, laying this out as a path that you think works?
Yes, I also use not as a primary strategy, but then I also use some principles of GNM, that is Germanic New Medicine. This was discovered by Hammer, that is Reich Geared Hammer, and of course there are a lot of people who do follow the Louise Hay method of emotional correlation. I also like to include some of the chakra and emotional energy correlation to understand which part of the body is being affected, why it is being affected, and what is the discordant emotional energy behind that symptom. There's also emotional integration dialogue. I like to use Reiki also. Reiki for self-healing. I just recently had a batch of 8 of my clients to whom I just taught my own way of Reiki healing just for themselves, for themselves, so that they don't have to depend on anyone else for emotional regulation. Apart from the Uro breathing protocol, which have been framed for the fast-paced modern lifestyle where people don't have time, and also people who cannot have prolonged or lengthy breathwork sessions or lengthy exercise or breathing practices. So these are for chronic patients also. We use the Uro protocol as a way to regulate their emotions throughout the day. This is 24 hours of breathwork almost. Of course, we don't wake up in the middle of the night and tell them to do certain breathing exercises. But then while they are awake and each time they are triggered, we use breathwork and other vagal nerve exercises to just regulate the system. Belief reframing is something that we use. Belief reframing can be in the form of journaling. I also like to work with doodling, asking them to doodle on a daily basis and helping them understand what they are doodling. And of course, regulation based on meditation. And I like to make the meditations very, very simple, something that anybody can practice. So these are not intense meditative practices where the spine has to be straight or where they have to sit in a particular manner. But then for chronic patients, near end patients, I like them to meditate in the way they are, whether it's lying down or whether it's for a few moments. Just be mindful of how they are breathing, reacting, how they are observing themselves. And some body awareness practices also, depending on what kind of survival response they are going through, whether it's a freeze response, whether it's a fight response or a flight response. And accordingly, I will ask them to practice certain things like walking or sports or cultivating a hobby. So these are all based on their nervous system responses.
Yeah, so it's maybe unique for every individual and where they are
Yes.
at on that journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it comes to healing, I don't think we can have a cookie cutter approach. Everything has to be
Correct.
customized because everybody has a different kind of a response. And some people may have multiple kinds of survival responses to different parts of their life, different things that they go through. They may be using a freeze response in certain cases, and they may be using a fight response in other cases. Sometimes we have to find a balance and understand what kind of breath work is going to be used for them, what kind of healing modality is going to be used for them.
Looks like a lot of it is definitely grounded in breath work, which is the very life essence of, keeping this body going. And I think that's something we forget about, just awareness around our breath and being tuned into one inhalation and one exhalation in itself can be quite transformative, is what I've experienced. Can you talk a little bit about your workshops more in detail? For those interested, what's the duration? How much time commitment is involved? And what does the day typically look like during the workshop?
Okay, so the basic workshop is the Usiro workshop, and this workshop is about 3 to 4 hours. Here we go through two different kinds of meditations. One meditation is trauma based, one meditation is connecting with our inner healer. And before that, I teach my clients a set of breathing protocols. Some of them are very popular breathing techniques, some of them are breathing techniques that I have devised in my own healing journey. And each breathing technique can be practiced for less than 1 minute, but we practice them throughout the day, and depending upon the kind of response they need to work upon, I advise them which kind of breathing technique to use. So the Usiro protocol is a set of these nervous system regulation breathworks, which we use to, like I said, to upgrade the biological software. Now, why we use breathworks for the nervous system is because when we go through a traumatic incident, the very first thing that happens to our being is that the nervous system begins to respond. Even before we can cognitively understand the episode, our nervous system has already formed a response. It's already, the sympathetic nervous system is already triggered. So that is where we might feel edgy, we might feel scared, we might feel unsafe, we might feel angry, or any one of the negative emotions. Those are all nervous system responses. Now, the nervous system is like the ringmaster of the circus. It will ask us to sit, stand, sleep, move, roll, whatever it is we have to do. The nervous system is the ringmaster, which is going to control everything. And that is one of the reasons why I love to use breath work as the basic unit to recalibrate the nervous system, because the breath is the first thing to change the moment the nervous system is dysregulated. The moment we are in sympathetic mode, the breath becomes shallow, it may become fast paced, we may even feel breathless. So, if the nervous system has such an intense relationship with our breathing pattern, we can use the breathing pattern to regulate the nervous system. And that's why I like to use breath work as the basic structure to follow when we are trying to heal from any kind of trauma. So it just goes down to the basic principle that we have to regulate the nervous system in order to heal from anything, whether it is a disease, an emotional trauma, whether it is an experience or any event from our life.
All comes down to our life essence, one single breath.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll definitely link out to your social media handles and, the workshop links if you have any. So people who are interested can look it up and see if that's a path forward for them. Well, so like you said a couple minutes ago, that we live in a very fast-paced world. Everything is moving fast and everyone wants a fix now or, today, which in fact is quite the opposite pace that's required for healing. So as we wrap up, what is your one North Star piece of advice for living inwardly and intentionally amidst this very, very high velocity life that surrounds us today?
Yes. So that North Star will be to know that being slow is not a sign of weakness. And we have to allow ourselves guilt-free rest. I hear a lot from clients that they feel guilty for even resting or taking the time out to be with themselves, even if it means 1 hour in a day. So we have to understand that in this fast-paced modern world, we have to know how to move at the speed of safety, not the speed of survival, which a lot of people are now moving at. So slowing down is what we have to do, moving at the speed of safety and allowing ourselves guilt-free rest. These are things that are very, very essential to combat whatever we are going through in modern living these days. And for this, if I may, I can just add in about my second workshop, which is Uro Intensive. This workshop lasts for 3 days, 2 to 3 days, and is based on the holotropic breathing technique. This is where we are completely devoting ourselves to our own rest, to our own breath, and to our own emotional integration, because this workshop can be extremely intense. We go through a catharsis. It can help us connect with our highest spiritual self. We can go to transpersonal experiences, and we are completely present for ourselves during this workshop, and dedicating those 2 days or 3 days to the workshop. And we also do a lot of expressive singing. We do some emotional constellation work. Those are like retreats, and which help us slow down, which help us feel rested without feeling guilty of not devoting time to anybody else. And overall, we help our clients to just slow down.
That's beautiful. Yeah, so slow is not bad. Slow can actually be quite profound if we allow it to be. Ranika, thank you so much. Thank you for helping us translate the language of our bodies and just understanding it a little better. To everyone listening, I think the crux of it is be patient and give yourself grace. Until next time, keep looking inwardly.